A wall breathing open, brick by brick, and the boy standing in front of it has no idea what's on the other side any sooner than we do. This is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the film most often accused of playing it too safe with its source material, of following the book so literally it barely counts as an adaptation at all. The claim I want to test is the opposite one, that what actually makes this film work isn't its loyalty to the book's events, but its loyalty to something harder to copy and much easier to lose: the book's point of view. There's a term for that from narrative theory, coined by the literary critic Gérard Genette: focalization. Not who's telling a story, but who's allowed to know things inside it. A story can lock itself to one character's knowledge and reveal only what that person has found out, or it can float freely above everyone, dipping into any mind it wants. Sorcerer's Stone locks the frame to Harry and never lets go, which is a discipline that has nothing to do with genre. Frank Herbert's Dune, on the page, never even attempts it. That novel slides between Paul's mind, his mother's, the villains, often in italicized thought printed right there for the reader. So there's no single restricted frame for a film of it to preserve, even if it wanted one. Which makes the wall in Diagon Alley worth a second look. The camera doesn't cut to a wide establishing shot before Harry sees it. It doesn't cut to Hagrid's face registering, "Here we go again." It pushes in through the exact gap the bricks are making, at Harry's exact height, on Harry's exact timeline. So the audience's ignorance is engineered to match the characters, beat for beat. David Lynch's 1984 Dune never gets that option, because the book it's adapting was never that quiet to begin with. So the film solves the interiority problem the crude way film almost always solves it, with narration spoken aloud over the image, telling us what Paul is thinking, instead of finding a way to show it. Sorcerer's Stone finds the harder way. In the Mirror of Erised scene, Harry sees his dead parents standing behind his own reflection, and the camera won't show us what's in the glass until it's already shown us his face discovering it. His desire arrives for us exactly when it arrives for him, never a beat sooner. It's the same rule Game of Thrones runs on a much bigger scale, just chopped into pieces instead of held continuously. Each scene sticks to the one character whose vantage the book gave it, ignorant of every other thread until the show decides those threads are ready to collide. The cleverest version of the trick is the sorting hat. In the book, Harry's panic during the sorting is internal, thoughts on a page, private to him and the reader, and film doesn't have an easy tool for that kind of interiority. Voiceover is the usual fallback, and voiceover tends to feel like the movie giving up, reading you the book instead of showing it to you, which is exactly the crutch Lynch's Dune leans on for Paul's visions. Sorcerer's Stone finds a way around it instead. Hand Harry's private thought to the hat itself, murmured low enough that only he can hear it, so the internal becomes external, without technically leaving his head. Denis Villeneuve's 2021 Dune finds a different way around the same problem. Paul's visions arrive as disorienting sound design and fractured, unexplained flashes, never narrated, never subtitled with meaning. Two totally different toolkits solving one translation problem. Lynch copied the device, Villeneuve translated the function, and only one of those plays as fidelity on screen. Game of Thrones eventually loses the version of this discipline its early seasons were built on. Once the show ran past the published books, it didn't just lose specific plot events, it lost the practice of deciding who gets to know what and when. Characters started arriving at conclusions the audience hadn't watched them reach. What critics usually called the show getting worse wasn't really a betrayal of the book's events. It was the quiet disappearance of a mechanism the books had been supplying all along. Sorcerer's Stone only breaks that same discipline once, right at the start. Dumbledore and McGonagall on Privet Drive, before Harry exists as a character anyone can follow, back when he's still an infant on a doorstep. For those few minutes, the camera knows things Harry can't possibly know yet. Maybe that's just the scaffolding a film has to build before it can hand you the keys. Or maybe it's more deliberate than that. Maybe you have to be shown a magic world's rules exist at all before you can be trusted to discover them one restricted frame at a time. So the film spends its one cheat up front and never needs another. None of this was ever really a fidelity contest between two lists of events. It's a translation problem, and the thing worth translating was never the plot. It's the experience of not knowing, doled out on purpose, scene by scene. Sorcerer's Stone gets called safe because it kept the events. What it actually kept, more carefully than almost anyone gives it credit for, was the withholding. Which brings the wall back around. The reason that brick-by-brick reveal still works, a quarter century and 7 sequels later, isn't the special effect. It's that nobody in the frame, not Harry, not us, was allowed to see it coming. The safest-looking adaptation in the genre turns out to be running one of the harder tricks in the craft, making an audience discover a world at exactly the speed its main character does, and trusting that restraint is more magical than revelation. Maybe that's true of more than wizarding worlds. Every story that's ever made someone believe in something impossible probably did it the same way, not by showing everything at once, but by making the audience wait exactly as long as the person standing next to them had to wait.